Hello, friends, followers, family, etc. Those of you who chose to spend a few minutes with me today, I thank you. I used to teach when I was going to law school. I taught in the People's Law School, and I taught fundamental principles of law. And then I've taught from then until now in many educational settings. So I look at what's going on now, and everything I told you was going to happen yesterday is what's happening today. The Republican professor comes in and talks about how unconstitutional everything is going on, and then the three Democrat professors are going to come in. And what they're trying to do is they're all of them are trying to convince you of what the law is. So I'm going to help you understand them differently. Generally, under the federal Constitution and the scope of it, the Supreme Court has spoke several times. And the law has to be written in such a way that we can understand it. Most of the state constitutions and or the statutes have a requirement that a person at the 9th grade level of education should be able to read and understand the law. So the question is, for you, is if you meet that minimum requirement, why do you need a professor on either side of the issue to tell you what is and what isn't constitutional? You have the equivalent of a grand jury called the House, who is controlled by the Democrats, and they're railroading, and I might add, without fundamental principles of due process, they're railroading this whole system. Schiff, Nadler, Pelosi. But anyway, I don't want to go too far down that path. Independent of that, it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you should be able to look at this and you should be able to say, what are the facts? What is the evidence? Oftentimes hearsay evidence is acceptable. It depends on the particular environment and the rules that are being followed. But you, excuse me, you and I get to weigh that for ourselves. And we should be able to read and understand the line, line by line, if we want to. Now, many people punt. They say, okay, this is what the attorneys say, blah, 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 blah. But individually, we have that choice. So what's happening now is it's called a justification proceeding, where each side tries to justify itself, but we're not really using the facts in the law. One of the professors this morning for the D's took exception to being challenged on not really knowing, and said that she's followed this. Perhaps, I don't know. So what? Her analysis isn't any more important than yours. And anytime you want to punt and let somebody else think for you, then in some of your most responsible matters, the future of you, your children, your grandchildren, and for some of us, our great-grandchildren. If we want to let somebody else think for us, excuse me, then our generations that follow us will pay for that one way or another. It can be good or it can be bad. So the bottom line for me, and this is how I approach it, is I look at the actual facts. I look at the actual evidence. I have been in business with powerful people, working for them, with financially powerful people. I understand Trump. I understand what he's done. I've read the so-called three-ring document, and I can't find where he did anything wrong. They're making a big deal right now. They're making a big deal out of, well, he's using the Ukraine to go after Biden. Let's talk about that for just a quick minute. Did Joe Biden violate federal law? And the answer is, it's all over the net. The clear answer is yes, he did. And it wasn't a misdemeanor. It was a felony. He withheld the funds, and he's the one who did it, not Obama. Withheld the funds that were supposed to go to the Ukraine until they fired Victor Skosin, whatever his name is, until they fired the guy who was going to investigate. And now it turns out that Schiff and possibly Nadler have people from that fund that wasn't investigated on their team. I don't care whether my president is a Democrat or a Republican. I despise the swamp with a passion. And I want that crap stopped. And I think it is appropriate before we give any country anything, that if that kind of crap's going on, it be investigated. Trump didn't say you have to find this or you have to find that. He didn't even say you have to investigate it. He asked for it. In my world, I think nothing but kudos for it. I've talked to some friends who are Democrats, strong Democrats. They actually agree with me. Voila! Woo! But anyway, I get carried away. It's nice sometimes when you find out the opposition in matters that are really important may not really oppose you. And I've had several tell me who are Democrats who have told me that they're going to vote for Trump this next time around. They're tired of the horse shit. So there you go. But anyway, back to the fundamental principle. What's going on right now is a Democrat show of justification as opposed to actual real facts and real evidence as to what happened. We have those if you want to bother to look at them, and then of course make your own decision. In this particular impeachment process, as I make these videos, if any of you have any comments, as long as we're not outside combative, confrontational in that way, I'll respect your opinion as your opinion. I don't have to agree with you, and you don't have to agree with me. But this is a conversation that we need to be having at this level instead of being dictated to, in this case, by the Democrats. If the roles were reversed and it was the Republicans, I'd feel the same way. So the that right there was to gather my thoughts for just a minute and close this out. The core of this is you can read the law, you can understand it, you can pick up the facts, you can pick up the evidence under the facts or the facts through the evidence, and you can apply it. You can make your own decision. You don't need some Harvard or Yale or Timbuktu attorney professor who can't cut it in real life telling you what to do. Have you ever gone to an insurance salesman who's talked about the investments of insurance? I think of attorneys in much the same way. They talk to you about the investment, and then you say, what are you worth? And, well, that's personal. Well, that's my business. Blah, 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 blah. Go out and look at the car they drive. Drive by their house. If you're going to engage one of those people to advise you in your financial affairs, the great book out there that's almost ancient, Book of Parables, The Richest Man in Babylon by Clayson, gives you all the fundamental principles. Well, the same thing holds true for what we're talking about here. There is an absolutely great book out there to explain to you what happened. It was originally written in French by Jean Bastide, I think his name was. It's called, really simple, and you don't have to pay for it. You can get it online. It's called The Law. And it talks about politics, talks about a republic, talks about democracy, talks about social democracy, and it puts everything in perspective to help you understand what's really happening right now. But anyway, a couple of bird walks there. I hope that the rest of this week is really great for you. We have a 50-year anniversary for my sister-in-law and her husband coming up. I have a couple of Santa gigs, and I'm going to a play, and I'm enjoying the season. If this stuff wasn't so important, it would be actually a comedy routine. I hope that you keep a sense of humor about you, regardless of which side of the fence you're on. And my prayer has constantly been that we learn, we get the real evidence, actual facts, and that we can learn from those what really is happening and then apply common sense. For the rest of this week, and until the next video, of course, feel free to like, share, etc. I would appreciate your comments. I'm not enjoying this dialogue with YouTube, and I read the headlines in CNN and it makes me gag, so it'd be fun to talk to real people. I guess that's all the begging I'm going to do for today. Make it so I gotta shut up.